pastor at this time of the First Christian Spiritualist Church. And I am so pleased to welcome today, on Mother's Day, Reverend Robert Anderson, dear friend, who I've known for a long time.
I think you were a teenager.
Oh, pardon?
I think you were a teenager.
Oh my goodness. I didn't come to California till I was in my 20s. But it really is a glorious thing to run into friends again this lifetime. And Reverend Robert grew up in Ohio, where table tipping was a daily occurrence, and UFOs were frequently seen in the sky. Music has always been part of his life, and coming from his family, and continues as a singer and songwriter and musician. He's currently playing with 2 bands. In 2015, he was ordained at Grace's Spiritualist Center in Encinitas, and Reverend Robert is on the board at Harmony Grove and a trustee on the board at the First Spiritualist Church. Please let us welcome warmly, please, Reverend Robert Anderson.
Thank you. We're here to celebrate mothers and to honor them. And when we're talking about healing, Reverend Rosie mentioned it has to come from the heart. And if you were wondering where you were at 3 a.m. floating around you, I was writing the one thing you talked about, honoring many different mothers. And that's what I'm going to talk about. And also want to honor Mother Earth. We had a nice lecture about Mother Earth last week at Harmony Grove. And I was talking to Reverend Rosie just before the service. How important our prayers are. You just think about what's happening in the world, and our prayers are being heard. They really are. So just don't take that for granted. You know, with as much enthusiasm as put a little love in your heart, right? Just think about that. So, actually, this talk is about coming from the heart. Okay? I've had several mothers. I'll talk about the first one. Her name was Cecilia, but she was a musician. She liked to use the stage name Sue because she had an act with her sister. She was born in Georgia. And she recorded on Steel Records when she was 17 years old. She hooked up with my dad, who was a fiddle player. And I always say that I never had a music lesson. That's not true. Everybody in my family played an instrument. And I got my brother's hand-me-down guitar. And he played bass professionally also. My mom was also an artist. She was a great mother. There was 4 boys and 1 girl. The way I remember my mother, she made 89. She lived in an upstairs apartment. She took 2 steps at a time to get up there. My brother and I accompanied her at the fiddle and banjo contest in Julian, just weeks before she passed. She performed her own music. She was a writer, and people loved it. Last time I saw her alive, she was in an emergency room, and she asked that I bring her makeup and her guitar. And she was playing for the nurses. So that's the way I remember her. And she looks 60 on a good day. Aunt Mary, mother number 2, my mother's sister. I left when I was 15 from Ohio to California in a 61 Mercury station wagon with no reverse, my cousin and 2 dogs, my Aunt Mary and my Uncle Merv. She chain smoked L&M cigarettes, drank coffee incessantly, painted like George O'Keeffe. She loved the high desert. And then she had this really low voice that she sang 1940s songs. She passed when we were doing the Ramona Rodeo. And just before we went on, my mom come up. And we got to dedicate that to my Aunt Mary. She would have liked that. Okay, their mother name was Anna, and she was born in Germany. And my sister was named after my grandmother, who I never met. She passed before I was born. She was a music teacher. And she performed with the Indianapolis Philharmonic. She accompanied violinists. I taught myself keyboard in the practice rooms at college. And I started a piece that I just completed just a few short years ago. It was like 30 years in the making. I had to take that back. I did get music lessons from my grandmother. She was a pianist. Mother number 4, Mrs. Finley. She let my band play in her garage and put up with all kinds of stuff. The core of my band, Black Canyon Band, has for the drummer her son, David. And we had a band in high school in 1967. He was 12 years old. He is still playing with me. He can get Social Security. That's love. That's family. She would bail some of our more or less fortunate band members out of jail. She would let us jump in the back of her pickup truck back when you could do that, and we'd end up at Lake Havasu camping for weeks on end. Remember what you had time like that? Her husband was a captain that flew for Pan Am. She was a recovering alcoholic. And we always wondered, she was always going to meetings. We always wondered about that. But she unfortunately died in a car accident. The last one I'm going to talk about is my first wife, Mona. She is the mother of 2 fantastic boys when I met her, who did well in spite of her husband being in prison. Fabulous, fabulous boys. One of them was scouted by the Pittsburgh Pirates, but he was injured his last year as a punter for Otterbein University. The other one could have been a scratch golfer and an Olympic diver. One thing all these ladies had in common, besides being artists, they loved to dance. My mother taught me how to dance. That's why it was nice to see my friend back there in the back start to do steps that we all followed. She taught me how to dance. I watched a lot of dancing up on stage, over 30 years with classic rock bands. And it reminds me of a line in a song, one of my favorite songs, one of my favorite singers, Kathy Mattea. And it's named aptly after what Reverend Rosie started, what Reverend Deborah talked about. You have to sing like you don't need the money, like you love like you'll never be heard. You gotta dance like nobody's watching. It's gotta come from the heart if you want it to work. Good lesson for life, don't you think? So, I think these two know what I'm going to do next. This is audience participation, folks. You don't have to, but I'd like all the ladies to participate in this, and there's you'll go home with a nice prize. So we're going to start with Reverend Deborah. She's going to stand, say her name, say a song that just reminds her of her mother, and what she would say to her if she was here.
I'm Reverend Deborah, and my mom, it's just all those Nat King Cole songs and those, wonderful songs that we had playing in the house. It's just so beautiful. But she always, when she came to church, she let me know, when I keep in my Bible, saying she loves that hymn, "This is my Father's world." And that just brought her peace, knowing it's in God's hands, all is well. Say, I love you, Mom, and I just don't know how she did it when I was kids. But such a blessing, and thank you.
Thank you. It was beautiful.
Well, you really caught us off
No
guard.
pressure.
You put us on the, well, let me see. I was thinking of Mexican songs, or she wasn't too much of it, but you know what came right away? I'm just gonna say, like you said, dance like you, nobody's looking. I have to go with Pretty Woman. The movie, she loved that movie. She just, and I
Lots of those here today.
Pardon?
Lots of pretty women here today.
Yeah. And, I wasn't too, I'll be honest, I wasn't too crazy about, is it Roberts?
Yes.
Roberts. But,
Roy Orbison.
yeah. But, and I just thought, she likes that. And, because she wasn't really, a fuddy-duddy, but she had certain, levels of, where people, she didn't look down on her. It just surprised me, because she and I didn't always get along. I mean, we got along, but we had our difficulties, and it was because I wanted her to be something she wasn't, and she me, And so, but what really made me really think after I saw it, and I enjoyed it, and it was cute and everything, and that my mother's heart was much more softer than I thought. It was much more softer. I didn't look down on prostitutes or something like this, but we just had a certain amount of behavior rules and things, but you can't judge by what people do in their lives, because you just don't know what is behind it all. And so I just felt like that there was much more to her than I saw. Because I wanted her to be something she wasn't, more loving mother, encouraging, all those things. But it's okay, she was a wonderful mother. Because we did have problems, and like you said, how did she do? She hung in there, and
sure she's really proud of all of you.
Pardon?
I'm sure she's really proud of all of you, too.
Yeah.
Proud of you.
Yeah, so I thank you for putting this on
So you're,
in the spotlight.
so Reverend Deborah's number 1, you're number 2. Remember your number.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm Kelly. My mom was Karen, which turned out to be unfortunate as years went on. Her song is, let's see, Elvis or Barbra Streisand. That'd be my mom.
Good choice.
It's her choice. I
Nice.
like him.
Elvis is always in the building.
And I'll give a shout out. I've met Karen a lot, and I love Callie's mom. She's very strong, and she's made and helped Callie become the beautiful woman that she is. My mom, Jane, my parents actually just celebrated their 45th wedding anniversary. And my mom's birthday's coming up soon also. And I grew up, my father's from Los Altos, so we would go from New York, where we're from, born and raised, to California here. And my mom would always play Carly Simon because my cousin, who was in New York City at the time, actually went to school with Carly Simon and James Taylor's kids.
Wow.
So they grew up with Ben and everybody. So yeah, those are quite some amazing stories. So Carly Simon was always on the cassette in the Vega, driving from New York to California, and then she dedicated, when she started getting us, she has 4 daughters. When my mom started getting us into dance, ballet, tap, jazz, when we were 5 and 7, we got into chorus and church Catholic choirs. And she dedicated to us, she loved the Beach Boys because of my dad in California. So my mom dedicated In My Room to me because I was quite an introvert and a water sign. And she goes, Virginia, when I hear In My Room by the Beach Boys, I think of you. And I just always hope you find safety and solace, whatever space you create for yourself. Because she said that's how she got through all those years.
Beautiful. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I'm kind of like Deborah. My mom had 6 kids. 3 of us are back then. Anyway, I kind of like Deborah wonder how she did it. Now that I look back, I only had 1 and I barely did a good job. So, anyway, once I remember we went to see the movie Titanic. We didn't go to very many things because she never had time to go to movies. So I would dedicate the song of the Heart of Law, the theme from the Titanic.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Powerful.
Oh, yeah, you, I guess.
Yeah.
My mother's still here with me. But I had other mothers. I dated my grandma and my mom's friend Liz and my aunt Linda. Those 3 mothers. They all took care of me. I had a happy childhood. I was full of love. And the song for them is let love guide your heart.
You see our chant,
Uh-huh.
she means the chant that we did.
Nice. Beautiful. Thank you.
Alright, hi guys, I'm Terry.
Hi, Terry.
Alright, I don't have mom that raised me. Of course, I do have mom to help me out, but I do have grandma that she is just equivalent of but I think she put all her mom's duty on me. She raised me, and despite all the things that happened to my childhood, being molested by her husband, my grandpa, my uncle, my cousin, is her love is the one that kept me going, and her song. And she never knew what happened, but she just always gave me this song called "Que sera, sera." Whatever will be, and it's just every time I cry, I can't tell her why. She just always said, "Que sera, sera." So it's just, she's like I said, she's like a million mom to me. So everything that happened, bad things to me, it's always good to hear her voice, and I get away with all kinds of bad stuff. Awesome. So that's what I do with my kids now, because I think it's no matter how bad the child is, or what they're going through, is if they show them the love of whether their mom or grandma, it's just like goes away. And she taught me, instead of reading books, she taught me how to read the Bibles every day. So all the hates that I was going through, even though she wasn't my mom, because she knows what I was, for some reason I know, or wonder why she knows I was having a bad time, because every time she read me a verse, it just goes away and saying, "Que sera, sera."
Whatever will be,
You're number
the
7.
future's not ours to see.
You're number 7.
Que sera, beautiful.
I'm Adriana. My mother's Estela. She does music, she does to dance, she does
Awesome.
cumbias, especially Sonora Santanera. La Luces de Nueva York, The Lights of New York, that's her favorite song. Thank you, Mother, for everything.
Can't follow that one. My friend, you're up.
My mother's name is Ruth, and she always stood for the truth. Yeah. Her favorite song that I wrote was Purple Circle, which means Universal Child, We Are One.
Beautiful.
Her favorite song from her day is Heart of My Heart.
Love that.
When friends are dearer than friends are dearer than heart of my heart. I know a tear would glisten if once more I could listen
to the gang that sang Heart of My Heart. You guys didn't know you were going to get a show, did you?
It's her show, I'm just doing it.
That's awesome.
And after she passed, the song that she loved was I Hope You Dance.
Yes.
Oh,
And she was
yes.
quite the dancer. And so, thank you very much, Mom.
It seems to be the central theme.
Yeah.
We need to dance through life. We do. Right, Virginia?
Oh, yeah.
What number am I?
You're 9.
Oh, thank you.
There's always got to be someone that keeps track of the numbers.
I keep track of everything.
There she is. Okay, let's go this way around with Mama.
You missed Raul.
I did?
And,
Just for the ladies.
oh, just a lady.
Just the ladies. We're celebrating and honoring the ladies today.
Don't get me involved.
Yep.
Hello.
We'll
Hi,
do it
my
again.
name is Estela. My mother is the one that introduced me to this kind of church. And she was a very good mom. She didn't raise me. My godparents raised me. But I still love her because she had a reason for me not to be with her. But I had 3 mothers, you know, her and the parents that they raised me. And I love her very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Beautiful. Okay, Rachel. You're up.
Well, my mom's name was Rachel, so she named me after her, Rachel Lucy Conley, we have the same name. My mom was much older when she had me. So my parents were old. So their music, my parents' music, was from World War II. So it was big band music, it was Glenn Miller, Judy Garland, that type of music. So I got introduced, so then you wonder why I ended up singing, being a singer, right? We had 4 children. I have a twin sister, and she was schizophrenic. And because of that, my dad became kind of like my mom, because she was so incapacitated. So usually on my Facebook page, I put a picture of my mom and my dad, because my dad was like mom to me. So anyway, so her favorite song was Stardust. And it was Glenn Miller and several, Frank Sinatra and Nat King Cole performed it. So.
Like Hoagie Carmichael.
What's that?
I think Hoagie Carmichael.
Hoagie Carmichael composed the song. Yes, it was written in the 20s, and then it became popular with Glenn Miller. We did it, and they loved Glenn Miller. So that was, I was always listening to big band music or Judy Garland, and actually went to go see Hello Dolly with Channing, Carol Channing. Yeah, it was the most amazing. It was in Arizona, in Phoenix. They revived it on Broadway and brought it to Arizona back in the 80s. Best show I'd ever seen in my life. But we saw, lots of Broadway stuff, listened to a lot of Broadway songs. So that's why probably, I don't know, like a lot of rock and roll because of it, but that's my musical background. But it was very influential. It was, my mom was, before she became schizophrenic, she was an opera singer. So that was, a lot of people don't know that. And then I ended up studying opera when I was, younger. So that's kind of the whole, she brought that. And she brought the Bible to me. She read the Bible every single day. I watched her read the Bible, so she brought that spirituality to me. So that's it. Thank you.
Sometimes I wonder.
There you go. I don't know what that, I really don't know. I should learn it.
You should.
It's beautiful.
I should.
Thank you, Rachel.
Got the sheet.
You're up.
Good morning, my name is Edith. My mother was, she never sang anything. She played piano. Classical music of various types is what she played. But I'll just leave it at that.
And she did good.
Yeah.
Edith has a beautiful voice too. Right?
Yes, powerful voice.
Yes.
Both of them.
Yeah.
She's a songbird as well.
Surrounded.
I'm number 13.
Lucky 13.
Lucky 13. It is lucky. Speaking of 13, when we came back from the pandemic and we're starting the church over again, the initial applications to become members of the church were 13 people. So yeah, that's
There you go.
interesting. Anyway, my name is Reverend Rosary Etzel, and my mother's name when she passed was Kitty, or Kitty Rasso. And anybody who's lived in Chula Vista, even National City, when we moved here in 1954, we moved from a dairy farm, but my mother knew she had to work. She got a job at a restaurant and saw what a lucrative business that could be, and she started her own restaurant in Chula Vista. She gave the food away. My stepfather was going crazy because we can't make money this way, so he had to quit his job and help her out. But the name of the restaurant is La Bella Pizza, if you've ever heard of it.
What's it called?
La Bella Pizza Garden. And it was called La Bella Pizza Garden because it was initially a miniature golf course. And you know, when you play miniature golf, there's always a circle where the hole is. And in each of those circles, she put a picnic table. So, and then flowers was a garden. And I was a senior in high school when she started, so I was her first employee, only making 55 cents an hour. And I told her I need more money. And my stepdad says, we don't even have to pay you, you're family, so shut up. So I shut up.
Shut up, kid, and keep cooking.
My mom was the oldest of 12 children. And during the Depression, they couldn't afford them, so one by one they went into a Catholic orphanage. This is in New York City. She had a very strange upbringing. She didn't want children. I was her first. And it reflected her feelings, but she ended up having 6. And she wasn't very motherly. In fact, she was a better grandmother than she was a mother. My children loved her. She was generous with them. I'm a pretty strong person, not physically, but emotionally, and so is she. So, something. My mother needed a lot of attention. There you go. There you go. That's the base of it. Her favorite song, Stardust.
Oh, sweet.
Stardust.
Oh.
I couldn't think of the name of it.
Oh my God.
So when you
What's
said
your
it, I said,
favorite? Stardust.
It's a beautiful song.
Oh.
And she even sang and cut a record singing Stardust. It was happening in Coney Island. And I guess you could go in a booth and make a record or something. And she did that. And it almost, when she got through, she broke down and she couldn't finish. She was so emotional about it. Oh, we had that record for years. Yeah, I know, it's interesting. See what else about me? That's it, that's plenty.
Thank you. I have to say it. You know, that's a classic song. It's timeless.
It is.
But your story is a country song. I mean that in the highest regard. You know. So Reverend Rosie, what number did Spirit pick? I gave you a piece of paper with a number on it.
Oh, 5.
Who's 5?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, you're.
After
And that's it. We're gonna sing for you here a little bit. We have the Angel Choir here. Took time out of their busy schedule, world tour, so stick around for that. Thank you for letting me serve, and thank you for all sharing. Give yourself a hand.
Thank you. That's sweet. And now, we're going to have the announcements with